Ludicrous Feed is proudly sponsored by Carloop Data and Koba Car Insurance.
There's three things I love about Korean culture. Number one, Korean barbecue. Number two, K-dramas. And number three, their cars. And yes, the Hyundai electric Kona, which I'm sitting in right now, is no exception. Let's go check it out. Okay, so here it is, the Hyundai Kona electric. And this is the extended range in premium trim, which I'm lucky enough to have for the week thanks to our friends at Hyundai Australia. And this is the second generation of the Hyundai Kona electric. This is not the first time I've driven it either. I was lucky enough also to attend the official launch last year in 2023, and they allowed me to drive the standard range vehicle back from Canberra, where the launch was, to Sydney. You'll be interested to know too that this is the first time the Hyundai Kona has been built off the electric platform. So yes, the hybrid and the ICE versions of this vehicle are actually built off the electric platform. So in terms of pricing, there are actually 5 trims of the Hyundai Kona, all the way from the standard range to the premium extended N-line package. So anywhere from $54,000 to $71,000. Of course, like I said, this vehicle is the premium extended range, so this one's starting at $68,000 MSRP before on-road costs here in Australia. The N-line package really just gets you some nice cosmetic improvements, both exterior and interior. Of course, we know the N range is the performance arm of Hyundai, but it's not really performance spec for the Kona EV. It's just, I guess, cosmetic improvements. Not much difference in actual drivability or performance, but the N-line does get you a bit extra in terms of looks. I'll try and go through the differences between the standard and premium versions of this vehicle. So in terms of powertrain, all the Kona EVs are front-wheel drive based on the K3 platform. Generally speaking, you won't notice too much difference between the K3 and the EGMP cars, which of course the Ioniq 5, the EV6 from Kia, and also the Genesis G60 is based off. But there are a couple of, I guess, important points about the E3 platform versus GMP, which we'll go through later on. So the extended range in this vehicle is 150 kilowatts of power versus 99 kilowatts in standard, 65 kilowatt hour battery versus 48 kilowatt hours, and both vehicles charge at 100 kilowatts DC and 10.4 kilowatts AC. If you look at the charge curve, it actually keeps the 100 kilowatt charge rate up to about 60% before it slowly decreases in rate. 750 kilograms of brake towing and 300 kilograms of unbraked. That's only available in the extended range version. Depending on which tires you get, if you have 19-inch tires like this car does, then you're looking at a WLTP range of 444 kilometers versus 505 kilometers for the 17-inch tires, 370 kilometers for the standard range. I'll go through real-world stats as we get deeper into the walkthrough. Premium vehicle, which is this car, has more cameras, so blind spot monitoring, 360 camera. We'll go through some more differences through the interior as well. And all electric Konas come with an 8-year high voltage battery warranty and 5-year vehicle warranty as well. All right, let's have a look at the styling now. So I actually don't mind the new Konas. I think they're starting to certainly develop their own distinctive style, which differentiates it from the Ioniq 5 and also the EV6 as well from Kia. And of course, one of the most common questions you get asked if you were to buy an EV that's not a Tesla is, of course, why didn't you just buy a Tesla? Well, we'll go through that as well later on. But, if you look at the Tesla range currently, there's only the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. There's no actual small SUV from Tesla. So this Hyundai Kona fits perfectly in that spec. It's a small SUV, and sure, you might say it's more expensive than the Tesla Model Y with equivalent range and battery size, but some might argue that the build quality from South Korean manufacturer Hyundai, both the interior and exterior, is marginally better than what Tesla offers. And look, not everybody wants a Tesla. The same way not everybody wants to buy a Toyota Camry or an Apple iPhone. I think it's good that we've got more choice in the market. All right, so that's a quick walk around of the Hyundai Kona EV. So let's take a deeper dive into the exterior and interior aspects of this vehicle. Okay, so let's start with the front. So we've got pixel headlights across the front here for the premium trim, which I quite like. Got that design down here for the air intake. Got sensors throughout the car, of course. Now the charge port is at the front of the vehicle. Now this is quite controversial, of course. It's probably aesthetically not as pleasing, but practically speaking, it might actually be a better spot, given that chargers, both AC and DC, have varying lengths of cable. So having it at the front might actually not be a bad thing. Okay, so let's have a look at the charge port. Push that to open. That's actually quite stiff there, which is a good thing, I guess. Doesn't feel as flimsy. Charge indicator lights. I did charge last night. Confirm it does charge at 10.4 kilowatts. Charge flaps for the Type 2 and CCS 2 component. Like I said, charging at 100 kilowatts with a reasonable charge curve. I think 100 kilowatts is probably just on the borderline of quick enough for a road trip. I wouldn't want it to go any slower than that. Certainly when you're waiting for it to charge, you're probably looking at about 40 to 45 minutes to get it to 80%. Pretty chunky fenders, right? Just where the wheel arches are. There's a wing mirror there, just a standard wing mirror, not digital. Cameras everywhere, which helps for blind spot monitoring, and also a 360 camera, which works really well, of course, for parking. Go through that later on in our drive. Running across here on the side, see where the lines are for aerodynamics. Not quite a fast back. There's quite a high takeoff here. Chunky lip. I think the end line is a thicker spoiler up the back here. And then again, very chunky wheel arch here over the back. This one, like I said, is equipped with a 19-inch wheel, so that does affect range. Who would have thought, huh? Bigger tyres affect range and arguably comfort levels as well. Across the back here, nice pixel style design. Rear wipers, which I like for an SUV, and more sensors as well. Sensors for the win. I like cars with sensors, let me just say. Roof rails. Let's have a look at the boot. Automatic lift gate as well for the premium trim. Okay, so 60-40 split. And I think the closest competitor in this size of vehicle is probably either the MG4 or the BYD Atto 3. I looked up the specs last night, and the Kona actually sits somewhere between the two vehicles. So just to give you an idea of the size. Here's my usual Costco shopping bag, just to give you a relative gauge of how big this boot is. And it also comes with netting as well. This is quite handy for keeping stuff down so it doesn't fly everywhere. Little parcel shelf here, which is quite handy. You can take this off quite easily, which I've done this week, to access the back row. And if I'm not mistaken, the Kona is one of the very few EVs that actually come equipped with a spare. Let's have a look. There you go, there is a spare tyre in the back, space saver tyre with the tyre jack too. So there you go. You can go road tripping knowing that you've got a spare in the boot. And automatic liftgate, like I said. Let's shut that down. And rear camera too, of course. You can see that. All right, let's start with the second row. And this car has a white trim too, so I don't normally go for white trims in the cars that I buy, but I must say it certainly does add a level of luxury and comfort having white seats. So heated rear seats throughout, a lot of storage too. Mesh there. Oh, nice and warm in the vehicle. It is cold, or cold for me anyway, out here this morning. There you go, heated rear seats, 3 settings, power windows, cup storage. Let's have a seat inside now. So center armrest, 2 cup holders. Not quite a panoramic sunroof, but there is a shade, which is quite handy, of course, for Australian summers, and lighting too. Yes, I do like second row with lighting. That's one of my gripes, not having lighting in the second row. Makes it very dark. I like these headrests, actually. Quite nice. Let's have a look at the back row headrests. Yep, they do go up and down, which is good. Same with the sides as well, up and down. Small little window just behind the C pillar, between the C and D pillar. That is the view out the back there. There's that parcel shelf I was talking about. You saw the seat restraint anchors behind there in the boot. You've also got ISOFIX child anchors here too. And let's have a look. There's easy entry too for the front seat, and that does come back quite a fair way. It may also impede legroom in the back, but honestly speaking, not too bad if the seat is, in this position, and that's my position when I drive. And sitting back here, I'm 5'9", 175 centimeters, and plenty of legroom here actually, almost 2 fists between my knees and the seat in front. Flat floor, given it's an electric ground-up vehicle. Very nice. Air conditioning vents there, and V2L, both internal and external. 16 amps, 3.3 kilowatts. 3-pin plug right there. and then 2 USB-C ports down here for charging your devices. Keeping your kids happy, that's very important for road trips. All right, let's hop into the front row now. Stay with me. Oh, you hear the sound of that door close? Yeah, very solid, very premium. Gee, the Korean cars have come a long way, haven't they? I know some people still have that stigma of the cars from the 90s, but honestly, ever since they started making EVs, you know, the Ioniqs, the Kia EVs, Genesis, of course, they're just really, really nice throughout. So I can see why you pay a bit extra, because the trim is just fantastic. Even in the Kona, which is of course kind of like their B tier or the second tier vehicle compared to the Ioniqs, but even so, you get a lot of bang for buck for this price range, I gotta say. All right, let's have a look at the door handle for the driver's side. So you've got seat memory positions, that's available only for the premium trim. And then you've got, of course, the usual mirrors and power windows and child lock. There's also an option here to dip the wing mirrors when you're reversing, and that's only available in the premium trim as well. So keep that in mind. Power mirror controls. And down here you've got powered seat controls too for driver and passenger side. And this is a quick recline position too if you want to lie down quickly, which I find quite handy if you're waiting for someone in the car. Usual pedals, floor mats, Kona badging. And before we have a look at the trims, I'm going to show you the frunk as well, or the bonnet. So let's have a look at this. Pull this lever. Let's go take a look. For safety, there is a latch here too, so let's do this with one hand. Oh, there we go, we did it. Hydraulic lifts, keeps it in position. I like that. Let's have a look at the frunk. It is a front-wheel drive car, so smaller bonnet storage or frunk. And there is a slow 10 amp charger in there. Probably enough to fit, I don't know, maybe a very small bag in there, maybe a laptop, bottles of water, potentially. And then you shut it like this, just old school. Pretty easy. All right, let's hop back inside. There is the head-up display right there, and cameras at the front here to help you with the cruise control, lane keeping, lane centering, all that stuff. VIN is located there. If you want to know where the OBD port is, this is where it is. There you go. That's where you put in an OBD reader that's useful for, say, ABRP, a better route planner, for EV trip planning, which I'll do a separate video on very shortly, so stay tuned on the channel. Let's open the boot. Brake, which I rarely use because I just press the off button when I stop driving. Traction control off, light intensity for the interior lights. There's also RGB lighting as well throughout the vehicle, and that's also only available in premium trim, as is the brushed chrome or brushed steel look. It's very Apple from the 2000s, isn't it, that brushed steel look? Don't mind it actually. Oh, it's nice and warm inside. It is cold out there. Cold for me anyway, like I said. Yeah, speaking of cold, so heated steering wheel, heated seats, ventilated seats as well in the premium trim. Lovely and cozy. And like I said, it's very similar in feel to the EGMP vehicles. So Ioniq 5, EV6 from Kia, Genesis, they all look like this. Dual screens, very user-friendly. Everything you need in this car is here, pretty much, from the infotainment screens, which we'll go through, and the drive cluster screen too. Yeah, Bose sound system, so there you go, Bose badging, so pretty good sound quality as you'd expect from Bose. Cruise control settings are all here, as the menu buttons are as well, and then you've got the different audio inputs, voice activated, favorites button, volume control to phone calls right there. I tend to use Apple CarPlay, I have to say, which is wireless by the way, and there's wireless charging too down here, so we'll go through that. And as I move the seat back, you can see what I'm doing there on the screen, which you can turn off as well too. That's very customizable. I think some of the GMP cars have a center little screen here, so the K3 platform does not have that. All right, let's keep going through the interior of the vehicle. So like I said, brushed metal. Look, a mix of buttons and screens, which I don't mind. Sometimes it's nice to have buttons to quickly access things like the climate control. Audio controls as well. That's not a bad thing, I think. I think not everybody wants just to have a big screen to play with. Sometimes you want to quickly access stuff when you're driving. It's probably safer to have buttons that you're used to. Start-up button, which has pros and cons. You know, Pros in that, you know, you can just switch the car off if you want quickly. Cons in that you've got to actually push the button to get the car going when you walk in, where some cars, like Tesla, of course, Polestar, Volvo, you just open the car door, step in, as soon as you sit down, the car is on. So manual steering column control. Oh, driver monitoring too, up here. And yes, it does keep an eye on you if you're playing with the screen, not paying attention, it'll beep. Air conditioning controls, split climate zones as well between driver and passenger, automatic with differing fan controls, recirculate mode, driver only side if you want. Lots of USB ports, which is great. So you can have wired Android and Apple as well if you wanted to. So you can switch between the two like this. 12-volt plug here too. And down here, more buttons for easy access for drive mode. Auto hold, which stays on for the next drive, which I love. There's the heated seats, ventilated seats, and parking sensors off if you want. And 360 camera, which I'll show you now. Press the button to display the camera view, or press and hold to activate park assist system. So there's the camera view, front, back. There's a 360 view. That's cool. All right, let's keep going with the center storage. So I've kept a small tissue box here, but these are actually drink holders technically. So you can actually pull this back like that. I've got my car keys, my mints. Nice storage here for takeaway, but if you want to use them as drink holders, you actually can. Takeaway like Korean fried chicken. Oh, I'm getting hungry now. And then more storage down here too. This actually acts as one massive storage here if you don't want to have that tray there, but the tray is also versatile. I keep my keys there during the drive. No sunglass holder, unfortunately, so that's my one gripe. That's about it. We have a mini shelf here. I'm not sure what that's for exactly, given that probably fly off if you put anything there. And down here, glove box. Oh, and by the way, these are leather seats too. Actual leather seats available for premium trim versus cloth for standard. And then up here, just a standard rear view mirror, hello there. And then more controls up here for lights. Oh, and this is the sunroof. Actual sunroof too, it does open up. See, you can open that up all the way, have a look at the outside world. With a little guard there. And you can actually have it on vent too, so if you just want to vent a little bit, you can. There you go, there's the vent mode. Just push the button. Yeah. Or you can push that down again, and then you can have the shade open too, without the roof open. Cabin lights. Vanity mirror. Not lit, interesting. Although there is a light up here, sorry. There you go. And then this folds out, extends. I like the extension. Okay, well that's pretty much the interior. So a lot of the features you see here are only available in the interior trim, of course, in white, leather, ventilated seats, premium Bose sound system, brushed metal, blind spot monitoring, camera, and 360 camera, which I showed you as well. All right, here's a good chance to go through the infotainment screen. So let's head out of Apple CarPlay and to the Hyundai screen. So quick controls here, there, flick between them all like this. Navigation, Apple CarPlay, let's have a look at the EV mode. So lots of stats, which I love. The Korean cars are good at that, showing lots of stats. Good for stats nerds like me. And settings for charging as well. Scheduled charging, which you can do, or through your own wall charger at home. Charge limit, AC charger charge limit, DC charger limit as well. And V2L settings, so minimum reserve, next departure time for conditioning. Okay, and then consumption graph. It's sitting sort of around that 16 to 18 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I'll just show you the stats here for the lifetime, or very close to lifetime of this vehicle. Let me just scroll down here. So that's just from charging this morning. So I've used quite a bit heading up here to the North Shore. But if you look at the last reset, so almost 2,000 kilometers driven by various journalists before me, they're getting around 15.8 or 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So if you look at the usable battery of this vehicle, which is close to 65 kilowatt hours, you can expect to get around that 400 kilometers mark, driving around the way these journalists do for their testing. So yeah, 400 kilometers, probably a bit less than the WLTP of 444 for 19-inch tires. All right, let's keep going. So we've done that one already. And then if you want to actually activate battery conditioning, you can natively through this button here. Handy for cold days like today, low. And then lock charging cable setting as well. I think that's handy, useful for security, so no one pulls it out. Electricity use, there you go. 10% climate this morning, sitting here talking to you guys. 82% only for driving, 8% for charging my electronics using Apple CarPlay. All right, let's have a look at the settings now. So this is possibly of interest to you. Laid out like this. Might be overwhelming at first, so it does take some getting used to, I must say. Let's go through, let's see. Driver assistance is important because it actually, if you do switch off the beeps and boops, it does actually come back again for the next drive. And to be honest with you, I can't be bothered switching it off each time because it does take a little bit of work to get through to the menu, so I just leave it on. It's not that intrusive. It warns you once if you're going with the speed limit. I just sort of try to ignore it. My passengers are actually more annoyed than I am as the driver, so just a little tip there. It must be part of the new ADAS requirements to have that on every drive. The BYDs do it as well, to my annoyance. Forward side safety, lane safety, blind spot view monitor on and off, blind spot safety, safe exit. There may not be a rear cross traffic. I don't see that in the settings here. Drive mode and eco mode if you want to save energy. Climate control settings, seat settings, lights, how many flashes you want for one touch indicator, door settings, power tailgate on and off. Oh, normal and fast, definitely fast. Smart tailgate will automatically open when approaching the vehicle with a smart key. I don't know. Rear occupant alert, service interval, wireless charging from mobile devices too. Okay. Oh, and there's also a quick flick down as well for some shortcuts as well. The rest is fairly self-explanatory. I've gone through before in previous eGMP cars. It's all very similar, so I won't go through it today. I will go through the binnacle screen though, or the cluster screen. Like I said, you can scroll through the stats here, which I love. Some cars don't offer this, especially some of the Chinese vehicles, so this is where I quite like the Korean cars, showing you really good stats for driving. That's for navigation or compass, and then that's for the cruise control visualization, which I'll go through in my drive. And that's pretty much it. That's the binnacle screen. Pretty straightforward, very self-explanatory. All right, let's go through the paddles and stalks. So given it's a car from Asia, it's a right-hand stalk indicate, auto lights like that, auto high beam as well. And then on this side, you've got the wiper controls, rain sensing, by the way, and rear wipers. And then you've got these pedals. So this is for regen braking settings. So if you just watch this here as I switch the pedals. So I've currently got it on auto, and that's basically like AI regen braking. It'll determine how much regen your car needs depending on the situation. And I have to say, the one pedal in this car, I find personally, maybe I'm just showing my age, but I find it a little bit too harsh. If you want to switch from auto, if you don't want the car to decide what you need, just hold on to the paddle like this, and it'll switch between auto and manual control. So level 3, level 2, level 1, 0 regen, and then the left paddle goes all the way to that I pedal, which is that one pedal. So I'll switch it back to auto, there we go, and that way I'll let the car decide for me, which I find has worked pretty well this week during my drive. And then down here, just the stalk here, which might be hard to show, but there we go. Just 4 gears, drive, neutral, reverse, park. On the side, this is the electronic brake versus the full parking brake there. All right, so here's the quick recline I was talking about. Down I go. Oh, no calf support. That's all right. But still pretty comfy if you want to quickly lie down. And then you can quickly go back to up position. I'll just find it. Too comfy now. There you go, up position. There's no massage seats in this one. That's all right. Or you can just press number 1, which is your my seat memory position. Okay, so like I said earlier, this is a small SUV from Hyundai Kona. Now in its 2nd generation, all Konas are now based on this electric platform. Priced possibly a little bit high when you consider where Tesla is at $55,000 for a Model Y. And not everybody wants a big car like the Tesla Model Y, and not everybody wants a sedan like the Model 3. So if you want a small SUV, then you're looking at this Hyundai Kona. You're looking at also the BYD Atto 3 or the MG4, the Chinese builds. Arguably, the Korean builds, like the Ioniqs, the Konas, are slightly better in quality, in my opinion, for both exterior and interior trim, and probably when it comes to usability of the infotainment screen and drive dynamics as well. And to be honest, for a city drive and an occasional road tripper, I think this is a very compelling vehicle from Hyundai and definitely worth a test drive for this size of vehicle. All right, well, enough talking from me. Let's head out on the road and see how this thing drives. Okay, so let's get going. You can see the reversing cameras and 360 cameras helping me out there, which is fantastic. You can probably just hear the hum of the low-speed pedestrian warning sound. How cool is that? That's only available with the premium trims, by the way. So what we're going to do today is go for a drive up the M1 to give you an idea of highway driving, then down the old Pacific Highway, and then through down the Pacific Highway through the North Shore. So a bit of a mix of both highway and urban driving as well, to give you an idea what it's like to drive the Kona. By the way, acceleration 0 to 100 kilometers in 7.6 seconds, I believe, in this car. So not frighteningly quick, but quick enough to get you out of situations. All right, let's head on to the Pacific Motorway M1. And those of you who watch my reviews regularly will know that I'm not generally a fan of front-wheel drive vehicles, right? Just because I prefer the handling of the rear-wheel drive. You get much less torque steering, and I feel better control, at least in dry weather anyway. But Hyundai have got this technology called torque vectoring, and they took great pains to tell me about this at the launch back in 2023 of the Kona EV, in that with the front-wheel drive vehicle, it kind of uses, I don't know, lack of a better word, AI or automation to actually help stop you veering when you are, slipping with the front-wheel drive vehicle, turning at great speed or turning at high speed, which it actually works, to be honest with you, most of the time, I find anyway. It's been quite good. I've been testing it out on suburban roads here when I'm turning out onto a main road, for example. Even in the wet, it's not too bad. There's far less slipping and far less, veering with this torque vectoring technology in this front-wheel drive vehicle when compared to other front-wheel drive vehicles I've tested in the past, notably vehicles like the BYD Atto 3. What else have I tested recently that's front-wheel drive? Even some of the European cars like the Peugeot, the Renault. Yeah, so I think it does make a difference. Hopefully it's something that other front-wheel drive vehicles will implement moving forward. Alright, so let me show you how to use cruise control in this car, which is actually quite easy to do. This button here literally turns it on and off. So when you press it to turn it on, it'll follow at the speed that you're going at when you pressed it, and then you just zip it up and down. If you hold on to it, it goes up by increments of 10 kilometers an hour, and I'm up to 110 already. It has lane keeping on by default, and if you want to put it on auto steer, lane centering, there we go. There it is. That's essentially the equivalent of Tesla autopilot, that it's lane centering, it's active cruise control, and you can adjust how close you want to follow to the car ahead. So I'll stay at 1, see how we go. Keeping in mind I'm going 110 kilometers an hour, or close to. Sometimes I do zip back to 2 if I feel like I'm getting too close. And there it is. I think, this kind of feature is really good for road tripping, and I must say, and you'll see it now on my drive, it does keep to the lane pretty well, much better than the BYD system, the intelligent cruise control. This is much better, the Hyundai EGMP/K3 platforms for active cruise control, lane keeping assist. This one doesn't have the, I think it's called Highway Lane Assist 2, version 2, that I've tried in the Kia EV9. That has, I think it's got lane change technology as well, which this doesn't have. So again, this is like the second tier platform for Hyundai, and that's another difference between the K3 and the EGMP cars. Yeah, so main differences I would think would be that one, and also the charging infrastructure. So the EGMP cars are 800 volt architecture, which enable you to charge, and I've proven this multiple times, from say 10-20% to around 80% in under 20 minutes, which is phenomenal for a road trip. That's so good, being able to charge that quick. Probably almost too quick if you're with a young family, right? I'm going to put my sunglasses on. It is quite bright at the moment. Now that the sun's come out, bit of glare off the road. But yeah, so this is 100 kilowatts. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's nuts. These trucks, I tell you, on the M1, they're really scary. That's why I don't want to go alongside them. But yeah, charging at 100 kilowatts, like I said before, it's borderline, I think, for a road trip. Certainly wouldn't want to go any slower than that, 100 kilowatts. Ideally, I reckon 150 is like the perfect charge rate. Obviously, it depends on the charge curve, but 100 to 150 is okay. I think that's acceptable. Obviously, anything over 150 is like luxurious. Getting to 200, 250, you can charge. Again, it depends on the charge curve as well. With the EGMP cars, you can charge. I've seen it charge close to 250 kilowatts for a long time, and that's why I can get that that charge under 20 minutes for 20 to 80%, which is pretty good. So with this car, you'd probably be sitting at a charger between 30 to 40 minutes for most times, which again is probably acceptable for a reasonable length meal, toilet break, all that stuff when you're doing a road trip. So if you can find a charger that's at least 100 kilowatts to take advantage of this charge rate, then you're probably okay. And how's the guessometer or the range remaining? Again, those of you who watch my channel regularly, I don't generally take too much notice of how much range remaining. I take notice of the efficiency of the vehicle, do a few tests before I go on a road trip to know how much range I've got in real world and how I drive. So like I said, about 400 kilometers of range you can expect driving at around 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers with a battery size of 65 kilowatt hours usable. All right, let's exit the motorway and then we can do some urban driving. And then we can see how it handles on the road. You saw that during the drive. The insulation's not too bad. Some sound is coming through, but I think generally it's not any worse than any other car I've driven of this size. Pretty good suspension, right? I mean, the road's not great on the M1 quality, but wasn't too buoyant. Considering I'm in an SUV, you can't really help the fact that you're higher off the ground, higher center of gravity. There's always a bit of buoyancy, but I think not too bad. It's a fairly controlled drive. Again, I don't have a quick way to objectively measure suspension at the moment, apart from getting like a decibel meter. Again, that's not accurate either because so many factors involved. So you just have to take my word for it. I'm just going to stop that and just keep driving down the old Pacific Highway. Take advantage of these smaller roads, and then we can go do a bit of urban driving down the Pacific Highway through the North Shore of Sydney. You can also use cruise here as well. Zip it up to 80. So Waze is what I always use for speed, radar, police detection, and then cruise control is the other another way you can reduce your chance of getting a speeding ticket, especially in cars like this, which keep to the speed really well. And the handling's pretty good too. Again, it's not a heavy vehicle. This is, I think, 1,600 kilograms. So it really does depend on the size of the battery. For example, my BYD Seal with an 82 kilowatt hour battery, you're looking at over 2 tons for a vehicle like that. So it really is dependent on the size of the battery pack. It's a lithium-ion NMC battery pack as well, not LFP. So don't charge to 100% too regularly. But apart from that, yeah, those little notes, I think for a sort of a small SUV size, and this is a marked improvement on the first generation of Kona. I wasn't terribly impressed with that. I know it's a very popular vehicle, but personally I thought it was a bit small, based off the ICE platform. Whereas this car, now that all the Konas are based off the electric platform, there are a lot of benefits for that. So yeah, I think, for a very well built Korean car of this size, reasonable battery pack, reasonable efficiency, 16, I mean, I think 15 is probably like good efficiency. Anything under 15 you're doing pretty well, but 16 possibly on the high side, which is surprising given it's an EV car, EV platform. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking at. All right, so just going to keep cruising along the old Pacific Highway for a minute, and then I will touch base again when I reach the Pacific Highway down through the North Shore. How's the braking? Not too bad. Ooh, yeah, running the red. Well done. All right, so we are back on the Pacific Highway here in Sydney, and yeah, it might be time to sign off, I think. Just wanted to thank our friends at Hyundai Australia for loaning me this vehicle for the last week, and also for inviting me to the launch last year as well, and seeing the difference between the two, the standard and the premium trim. Yeah, I think it's quite a stark difference, to be honest, and I would think possibly even worth the difference. That car felt a bit more budget, a bit more basic, in more ways than one. Not just the interior, like not just the fit and finish, but also the drive quality. I feel like this one, I don't know, it just feels a bit zippier. Yeah, just a bit more of a car that I would personally want to drive. Yeah, so, and back then I didn't have the pricing either. They sort of let us content creators and journalists drive that vehicle without knowing the pricing, so it's hard to comment. But now, with the pricing in mind, I can, I guess, give you a bit more of a comparison between this car and its competitors, Tesla, BYD, MG. So, yeah, lots more choice on the market now, which is great. So thanks Hyundai, thanks for the loan, and yeah, very good car indeed. And again, thank you everyone for watching today. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them below. Otherwise, I shall see you all on the next Ludicrous video. As always, happy charging.